Hey, it's A Help Collector here, and today's video I'm going to teach you guys how to research death cards. This has been a very requested topic over the years. It's one I've wanted to do for a while, and I actually found a pretty decent opportunity to do it. This is the card for Paul Bianiera. Bianiera, don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced, but I was going through my backlog of research cards to film some stuff for Military in March, which is coming up, and for some reason I could not find the research notes for Paul. So I thought, okay, well, this is a guy I know I probably already have some data on. This would be a good chance to kind of show you guys how I research my cards. So Google Translate is the first place that I start. But yeah, so generally, even though now the Google Translate by photo is pretty good, I don't use that for the cards themselves. So I actually have the physical card in front of me as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and type that in. We'll probably put in a cut here. Alrighty, so based off just text on the card here, we know that Paul was born in Papalau on September 13th, 1909, and succumbed to his wounds in the southeast on May 1st, 1944. So these dates are very important. This is what's going to help us with the basics of the next parts of the research. So we're going to go to Ancestry here. I already have Paul's first name typed in, Bianiara, death date of 1/5 1944. Now, it's important to note that, especially for my American viewers, Germany, with their dates, it is day, month, year, not month, day, year. So 1/5/1944 is May 1st, not January 5th. So definitely a good thing to keep in mind as we go forward here. And yeah, we can see that I actually found Paul previously. You can see from his birth date here, 13th September 1909, matched what's on the card, Pagalau. So go ahead and open that up. All right, and we can see here, pull up the casualty record. Yeah, Paul was a member of the 1st Company of Grenadier Regiment 122. Interestingly enough, the Feldpost number is also included here. That's pretty cool. It looks like he died in a field hospital in Semlin and was buried in Belgrade. Now, we don't have a cause of death listed here. Of some of these other fields, we have date of birth, place born, unit, rank, this would be like the training units. Sometimes you'll see like the training unit they were part of. Really interesting with Luftwaffe Feld Troop cards because often they'll have like previous experience in like a maybe like a ground support unit before they transition to infantry. No cause of death listed here though, so let's go ahead and check on the back and see if there is one. There is not. So sometimes the cause of death will be written on the back of the card as well. So it's always a good place to check. Of course, we could also have another card for Paul here if we keep going. This is a different guy. This is a different Paul Bianiara. He was born July 31st, 1909, different town here of Schalkendorf. But this is important because I want to show you guys. So this is what the cause of death would look like. It's usually in this field here. We have died of shrapnel to the thigh, chest. Looks like there might be some kind of infection there. I'm not going to spend all the time to translate that, so I don't have this card. But sometimes also the cause of death will be written on the back. Sometimes the next of kin will be written down here, grave location. There's some pretty good resources on how to read these cards online. And of course, if you guys ever have any questions, there's the World War II Death Card subreddit that I am the lead mod for. So feel free to post questions over there or on the War Relics forum. There's plenty of other places as well. But yeah, so we have Paul's card there. We know that he was in the 1st Company of Grenadier Regiment 122. So next we're going to go to the grave search here. So this is Volks Boon. Volks Boon is the organization that maintains all of the military cemeteries. They do great work. They maintain a really good archive. So definitely a good resource. And if you're looking for a charity, they're a pretty decent one. I'm going to type in his information here. And death, I'm just going to do 1944. There probably aren't that many Bianiaras. And I'm correct. There's only one here that matches that information. And we scroll down. Okay, so he was, died at the Semlin Field Hospital, Freiter, everything matches here. We can see that his name is recorded at the military cemetery in Belgrade, which matches what's on the card here. So apparently at Belgrade, he was buried in Block 20, Row 2, Grave 4, I think. But it looks like he's since been moved, or maybe that grave location's been lost. But he's buried in the Belgrade Military Cemetery somewhere. So yeah, sometimes you'll find a different death missing place here, or sometimes there might be additional information. Like let's say the casualty record just says they died in a town. Volks Boon might have they died 200 meters north of a town or something similar. So there could be small discrepancies between the Volks Boon and the casualty record that you can find through Ancestry. I also find that a lot of times, even if you can't find a casualty card on Ancestry, you'll usually at least find something on Volks Boon. There are occasions where you're not going to find anything that's just part of the nature of the game. But these are probably the two sources I use the most. Now, moving to Lexon de Wehrmacht, this is the best resource for German military formations during World War II. I use this extensively, almost daily. So if we go to the German troops here, infantry, now we know that Paul was in the Grenadier Regiment 122. So we'll go down to Grenadier Regiments, go down to Grenadier Regiment 122. All right, and we have some information here. So we're going to copy paste that into Google Translate. Created on October 15th, 1942 by renaming the 122nd Infantry Regiment and subordinated to the 50th Infantry Division. In October of 1943, the 2nd Battalion was replaced by the 2nd Battalion of Grenadier Regiment 583. The regiment was destroyed in Sebastopol in May 1944, which perfectly lines up with the date of Paul's death of May 1st. So clearly, so if they were annihilated at go back to the right screen. They were annihilated at Sevastopol in May of 1944. Paul, of course, dies in a field hospital on the 1st of May, all the way back at Belgrade. Clearly, he must have been pretty severely injured. He was actually taken probably to a specialist that was in Belgrade and ended up dying there. So he was killed, or he died of his wounds shortly before his regiment was just completely annihilated. They would be reformed actually a month later in the Perleberg area. Now, one of the nice things here is we've got all these nice links. We can actually go to the 50th Infantry Division's page here. And we can look at all of their stuff. So if we scroll down, there's a siren in the background. I hope you guys don't hear that. If we take a look at this information here, Okay, in April of 1944, it had to give way to the Soviet onslaught on the northern front of Crimea and gradually retreated to Sevastopol. The evacuation of the German and Romanian units in Crimea started too late, so that large parts, around 3,000 men of the 50th Infantry Division, had to become Soviet prisoners of war between May 12th and May 13th, 1944. Yeah, so the division Paul's unit was a part of, was scrambling to get out of Crimea as the Soviet onslaught was coming toward them, and a large chunk of them became prisoners or were killed. Paul, of course, was wounded during that action, was medevaced, and died in Belgrade. So a pretty interesting story here. This is the kind of stuff that I really like about research, is being able to put together a story, not only for the person that's on the card, but for their unit and kind of putting it in the context of the war altogether. And if we scroll down here, unfortunately there's no maps here, but a lot of these other ones you can actually pull up a map photo. And we can actually see all of the different units. You can see the Soviet front kind of pushing in on them here at Sevastopol. It's pretty neat. But yes, that's the bulk of what I use to get my information. I'm not going to make you guys sit through me translating all the prayers and stuff, because I know I'm probably one of the few people that are actually interested in that. Now, one of the other things here, you can see there's actually some unit histories. It looks like there is a book written about the 50th Infantry Division. I would use like German eBay, ebay.de. A lot of those guys do not ship to the U.S., so don't be surprised if you can't find a copy that can ship to you unless you're in Europe. There's also a lot of other like secondhand book sites. BookLooker is one that I've used a few times, once so far. But I have a pretty interesting unit history coming in. Now, obviously, if you're just casually collecting these cards, I don't recommend that you go out buying unit histories. They tend to be out of print, hard to find, a little bit on the expensive side. If you're somebody crazy like me who collects a lot of death cards, then yeah, they're great resources to have. Most of them are written in German, but again, with the advances in Google Translate by picture, you can just take a photograph of a page that has the right dates on it, translate it in like 2 seconds, and then be able to have at least a rough idea of what was going on. So some of the other resources I have here that I don't use as often, but I wanted to kind of show you guys so they might help you. Traces of War is okay. I haven't used it a ton, but basically they have pretty good listings of decorated German soldiers from World War II. So if I had a guy that had like the German Cross in gold or the Honor Clasp, or I don't have a Knight's Cross card yet, but if I had somebody with a Knight's Cross, this is where I'd go to actually look up information on them, because they should have good info on like dates and things. Like if you click on Walter Pruger here, we can see that, yeah, he was awarded the Iron Cross second class. We'd see that he earned his honor goblet on July 20th, 1942. We see he earned his German Cross in gold while a member of the first Staffel of Kampfgruppe 606. So good information for more decorated officers here. Like I said, don't use it too often. The Dankmal project is basically it goes through all the different like war memorials that are in Germany. I've only used it relatively recently. It's helped me in like one or two cases where I was able to determine that maybe somebody's name on their card was a nickname. That's another thing you need to keep an eye out for. If you have nicknames on cards, like Hans is short for Johannes, for example, or Johann. So obviously, sometimes casualty records are under Hans, sometimes they're under Johann, so you have to be kind of aware of that as well. But going in here, Banara, Paul, search, and we can see that there's no war memorials they have documented that have his name on it. Not surprising. I like I said, I've only had a little bit of luck in this, but good alternate source if you're really having trouble finding information. You might get lucky on here. The last one I kind of want to talk to you guys about. I've only used this one like once, but it took me a long time to find this resource. So if you're somebody that's really interested in the naval losses of World War II, this is awesome. So basically, you can actually go to warship losses by month, and it pulls up this handy dandy map here, and you can actually then sort by date. So if I want to see all losses on October of 1943, and then I just click submit here, and we can see everything that was sunk that they're aware of from October of 1943. It's color coded too, so red would be British, blue would be United States, white would be Japan, Germany's in black. So in fact, if we wanted to look at the Heimdall SL there, we can see it. So SL, can't remember what the SL would stand for, but we can see like the destroyer Buck and Bristol were U.S. destroyers that were sunk in the Med. You can then go to Google, type those in, and be able to find some pretty good information on those. I don't have a lot of Kriegsmarine cards in my collection, but the one that I have researched previously and done a video on, this is how I figured out. Narrowed it down to like two subs the guy was potentially on because they were both sunk on the same day. But yeah, another good resource. And yeah, overall, like I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it's been helpful. Obviously, if you ever have any questions about research, yeah, like I said, I run the World War II Death Card subreddit. So if you use Reddit, that might be easy for you. You can go on there. The War Relics forum, which I'm also part of, they're really good at answering questions about death cards and things. There's a whole section for sharing your death cards. There's people on there that are willing to do the research for you. Probably one of the biggest things, especially if you're a younger collector. I know Ancestry subscriptions are expensive. There are ways to get around that. Some public libraries have Ancestry accounts that you can sign into and use. If that doesn't work for you for whatever reason, like I said, there's people online, both on War Relics and on the Death Card subreddit, that'd be willing to do the like 4 second search, see if they can find a casualty record for you. And all the other resources are free. I mean, Volks Boon's free, Lexicon's free, Traces of War is free. Everything else here is free. Really, Ancestry is the only one you have to pay for. But yeah, overall, I hope this video was helpful. Please leave a comment down below. Love hearing from you guys. Thank you all for watching. Happy collecting, and I'll see you all again very soon.